Last episode looked rather tasty, with a gorgeous profit of £96.40, bringing our total profit of the series to £852.28. We seem to now be on the fence again whether I can actually go over that £1,000 and call it quits for Season 1, potentially before we even hit episode 100. I buy faulty electronic items on eBay, attempt to fix them and sell them for a profit. Welcome your glorious faces back to episode number 95. Let's take a look at today's item. I paid a not so whopping amount of £140 for this Xbox Series X console. And if you ask me, like I said, £140 is a relatively good deal. There are quite a few stains on this console, shall we say. Don't know if that's going to come off or rub off. Hopefully it does. But if not the end of the world, as long as we can actually get it working. Same to be said on the underside of the console if you were to lay it down. The good news is that it looks like, I think, that the warranty sticker hasn't been touched. I could be wrong as always. Maybe somebody has applied heat to this and taken it off very stealthily. That is entirely possible. We do also have some markings around the HDMI port. I don't know if you can see, but it looks like it's been chewed at even, potentially. The eBay listing states that the port's condition is all good. The console is not able to power on. Description of the fault: no power, no response when you go to press the power or eject button. So as always, first things first, let's test that theory and just make sure that is entirely correct. Go to plug power in. Seems to be okay. No crackles or bangs. Do we get power? No. Nothing. Completely dodo. In which case, we're not going to mess around. We're going to take this apart. Now, usually, I'm actually against taking off a warranty sticker and putting it back. But it's a little bit different, I feel, for the Xbox Series X because the warranty sticker is visible and it's massive. With the PS5, it's under the chassis, you know, under the top level. And this one, we should be able to nicely lift this up and lift this little sticker up down here and put it back so that it actually looks pretty decent. So temperature I'm using here is actually 140 degrees Celsius. And I'm just slowly peeling this off now. And what this is doing is just melting the glue underneath the sticker so we can take it off nicely. There we go. I don't think this has been opened before. There we go. And we do the exact same for down here as well. Apply a little bit of heat. And just go to lift up on the tag. Place it here for the time being. And take out the two screws. These are in fact T8. I'm still kind of undecided whether this has been taken apart or not yet. I know it sounds really silly to say, but this bit of sticker here wasn't stuck down. It just lifted off. And usually this is adhered down to here, and this has also been taken off. So I still have my doubts, if I'm honest. Our brick is now out. Take off our rubber band and more screws. Okay, our first test, once I've moved the brick out of the way, is we need to ensure that we're getting 12 volts coming from both of these connectors on the power supply. Imagine if it is just a bad power supply. If that's the case, this is going to be some easy profit, and we shall be one step closer. Here we go. Do we have 12 Vs on this power supply? Connector number 1. Reveal yourself. Oh my gosh, we don't. Wait, let me just double check here. Oh, it's just a dead power supply. It is. Yeah, it's a finished power supply. I don't believe it. Wow. Maybe, actually, reality is slowly sinking in that Season 1 might be coming to an end. What are you talking about, Joey? Well, basically, this power supply is gone. So all I need to do is essentially replace the power supply for this Xbox Series X, and technically, we should have a working one. Xbox Series X's at the moment usually sell for around about £220. Minus the eBay fees, I'm looking at a straight up £80 or so profit, which is obviously fantastic for profit or loss. Now, before I even put in a power supply to test, I'm going to very quickly just confirm that we don't have a short on the 12 volts on here. No, we don't. In which case, I'm also, whilst I'm in the device, going to replace the thermal paste because I've opened it now. And sometimes the thermal paste on these isn't that great in the first place. Yeah, thermal paste is looking a little bit scarce, so we'll get that sorted. Fresh thermal paste, jubbly. I've just noticed something. How have I only just seen this? Not like this, please. There's hot glue again around the HDMI port. I do not believe it. Oh dear. Okay, so we've had, all right. Not as simple as I once thought. I should have known better. I went off on a tangent. I should have just shut up. Our retimer chip has been changed. There is a bunch of flux around here. It looks like maybe they had a failed attempt of getting a working display, I don't know, with the port, considering the fact that we have hot glue and just solder everywhere. This is still fresh solder. It also looks like we have a bridge. Does it not? I mean, I could be wrong, but that looks like a bridge to ground. I mean, all of those are just bridged together as well. This might explain as to why the power supply went boom. Lord above. Can I just add that whoever went into this console should go and work for the dark arts. They are deceptive, to say the least. Join the force of the Decepticons. It's ridiculous. I didn't think that anybody had been in this console. What doesn't make sense to me is that somebody can get into the console so well, but then put hot glue around a HDMI port and not even solder it properly. I don't understand. And you guys know me as well. If this was a repair attempt that I thought, you know what, they've tried their hardest, I would try and at least give some positive advice here. But the fact is that I think they've changed out the retimer. But looking at this, they should have definitely focused their attention around the HDMI port. Also, the fact they've taken this console apart perfectly. So clearly, this is not a beginner. But then I look at this HDMI port and it gets me thinking, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. Anyways, enough yapping. I'm going to have to take off the thermal pasta that I just put on. And let's see if we can sort out this HDMI port. Annoyingly, I would also say, not the perfect amount of thermal paste, but a really good amount of thermal paste on that die as well. Not too much, not too little. As you know, there is only one person who can apply the perfect amount of thermal paste, and it's definitely not me. I've just turned it around. This is solder paste. This is not even melted in the slightest. Have I told you all that I just don't understand? Let's wipe this off because I don't want this forming when I go and apply heat. Lord above. Let's take this port off and see what the situation is on the other side. I'm going to go 480 degrees Celsius here, 99% airflow. This port should technically just fall out. And as for the hot glue on the other side, I know I could probably clean that up with isopropyl alcohol. However, I need to get the port off anyway, so I might as well apply heat, right? And that should get the glue off. I just want to confirm, you do not need hot glue to support a HDMI port. It's really, really, really not needed. The logic, in my opinion, that's being applied is hot glue is stronger than solder, because 9 times out of 10, the solder isn't the issue. It's the user who's putting a wrong cable or something inside the port, you know? Hot glue isn't going to really do much to somebody who's forcing the cable in incorrectly. And it's just going to fall off. There we go. And most of that glue is going to come with it, as you can see. Also, whilst I'm here and the board is hot, you know what I'm going to do. Come in with some more heat and clear out those ground holes. And again, board hot here, we're just going to come in with some flux. And I'm simply not going to trust the solder that's on the board. It looks like extreme low melt sort of solder. And we're just going to clear up these pads. Just like this. And then we'll also clean up the solder on the stronger holding pads down here. And now we're just going to clean. And you'll see this absolutely transform. There we go, that looks a little bit better. Was that a bit of solder? What I will say is that I have no idea if this chip is going to work or not. I'm not even too sure if they put it on the right way, to be honest, because I don't think I've ever changed one of these. Maybe once, and there's no indication on the actual board to say where pin 1 goes, but I'd have to look at a donor. But at the moment, our focus is this. So what do we do now, Joey? You've cleared all of that up. Well, we're just going to put some heat back into the board, 480 degrees Celsius, 99% airflow. And I like to use the drop method. So what I'm actually going to do is just put some solder here in all of these holes. There we go. And we're going to give it just a little bit of flux. And just use our iron to go over some of these pads here. And just hopefully around about a 1 swoop of that. There we go. Definitely more than a 1 swoop. And again, get rid of all that flux because we don't need this old flux on the board. That's for sure. Give it some new fresh flux in a minute. I'm really glad that I decided to change out the thermal paste on this, because if I didn't and just put on another power supply, maybe that one would have also gone boom because of the state of the port, you know? So the universe was guiding me right today, that's for sure. Now on the back, you're going to see that those are big balls. Yeah, nice. So when we go to do our drop method, hopefully they hug the port. I'm just going to really quickly tin this port, put a bit of flux on and get some solder on here. There we go. All right, little bit of flux just to support everything. Make sure that solder flows nicely. I'm just going to spread it. Make sure we've not got too much. 480 degrees Celsius with an airflow speed of a lovely jubbly 99%. Fume extractor on right next to where we're doing the drop, because health is indeed wealth. Just rotating that heat underneath the board. I personally go in an anti-clockwise rotation. Just feels more comfy. And you'll see that solder liquefy in a second. See if I can get even focus better. Now bear in mind this is leaded solder that I've put on the board. So the melting temperature is going to be quite low. Not as low as probably as the solder paste they were using, but still pretty low. And we're looking for all of that to glisten and shine. There we go. There goes one. Beautiful. Now we just need the pads. They're very important. Need them to glisten as well. And now we go to put the port on. Drop it in place. continue rotating that hot air. And I'm going to leave this on for quite a while, and then we're going to move the port around and make sure we've got a good connection on the legs and also the pins. It's very important. Now I'm just going to give it a little tap, and that's actually solidly in place. So the job is not done yet. I need to make sure that this gets up to a temperature that I can actually move it around. There we go. That's better. And just make sure we got all the positioning right. That looks really good to me. And I can see that solder coming up the legs right now. So what I'm going to do is give it a gentle nudge down. Really, really tiny bit of force. And I'm going to come off the heat in about 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Come off the heat. And keep holding down. Again, very gently. And just wait for that solder to solidify. Which I can see it now has. This is where we have to be super quick and clean up. But don't rush. And clean up the flux. If you're using a cotton bud in this area, by the way, be super careful of these little diodes down here, because they will just rip off the board if you catch them. That has happened to me. I'm just going to clean up all of this flux whilst the board is hot. Make sure we are all A-OK. Alright, that looks good to me. Let's turn it over. How are the bubbles on the back? Yep, big. Little bit of flux. Sort these out whilst the board is hot. It becomes 10 times easier. If this board gets a little bit cooler, your soldering iron has to work more. So we're just going to take off some of the big blobs first of all. There we go. Now a tiny bit more flux and just go over them. Looking good. Clean the flux. Tiny bit of a spiky situation here. Nice. A little bit of IPA. Finishing touches on the back. And that looks 10 times better in my opinion than than what it did before. That is for sure. There we go. Looking nice. Let's check the front. And our solder, I know from doing the drop method, has come up on those legs. Look at that. And the pins perfectly in line with lots of solder going over them. And this side as well, solder up the legs. Look at that. Jubbly. We get a nice close up here. You can see, without probably needing to actually touch them, that these pins are all solid. Every single one. There we go. Now, when it comes to this, I know this sounds probably super weird. I am going to reflow it. I'm going to lower temp to 460 degrees Celsius because these boards are so thick. They still require so much heat. But I am just going to reflow this chip with my own flux and give it a nice clean, and hopefully it's going to work. Like I said, it does look like it has been replaced in my opinion. Before I place my flux on, I'm just getting it up to temp. Let's put a little bit on. Now it's starting to go. It took such a long time. Okay, let's give this a nice clean. There we go. Looks 10 times better. Let's put it back together-ish and give it a test. I've just tested this power supply, which I actually had to go into my loft for, and it's testing absolutely fine. So, let's see if this works. And displays an image. Here we go, power in, no explosions. Good. I've not plugged it in. Okay, all right. Plugged in now. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Please. Nothing. Nothing at all. The connector has been plugged in the right way is the first thing that I'll double check. But pressing the actual power button, we get nothing. Connected to this board, connected to the bottom board. We have our ribbon cable seated here as well. Take out the HDMI. Let's just go for testing on the power supply and make sure that we haven't actually dispatched that, because that would be concerning. It took me ages to find this one. I really highly doubt that I have any more available. Okay, we still have 12 volts on the actual power supply, which is good. I didn't actually check the second one. I only checked one of them. Do we have 12 volts on this one as well? We do. Okay. So does that mean that we have a short on the board somewhere now? We go into continuity mode. Is the 12 volt line short? Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't before. So that would confuse me a lot. See, I'm putting 748 ohms there, which I think is actually pretty weird. Bottom board is absolutely fine, but this top one, we're measuring 748. Let me go into resistance mode and see if that's entirely accurate. It's coming up 8K now. And climbing. See if I can get a better reading here. It's climbing 8K, 20K. Oh, it's going back down. It's climbing up. Okay. A little bit confused. In continuity mode, we have 750 ohms, but when we actually measure the resistance, it's in the thousands. I wonder why that is. Oh. I just replugged it back in, and it works. The only thing that I don't have in is the HDMI. So does that... No. Or maybe it wasn't pushed in properly. Right. Well, we seem to be displaying as well. How underwhelming of a reaction because I just wasn't expecting all of this to happen, but it looks good. We do have a 1440p option here because my game capture card doesn't actually support 4K. Yeah, your TV setup doesn't support 4K UHD at 120Hz. I must have just plugged it in properly, the actual power supply. What I'm going to do is put it back together. Hopefully we get a display. I'll test it downstairs on my TV just to make sure we got 4K, purely because of the fact the retimer on this was obviously messy and the port was quite severely damaged. So I will just test that to make sure. But we have power and display, which to me is a win-win. Right, I have tested 4K on my TV and it's no problems at all. I've reset the console. I've tested the disk drive. Disk drive is absolutely fine. I guess I will show you just to confirm. I am installing FIFA just to make sure that I can play a game comfortably, which I have no doubts that I'll be able to be honest. It had to do a little bit of an update. It was only a 500 meg one, so it wasn't too much. There we go. Mortal Kombat shows up from the disc, so I'm just going to take that back out. Super happy that I've managed to fix this one, in all honesty. I shouldn't have got my hopes up when I said I thought it was just going to be the power supply. A cushy little profit. But does it stop there? Or do we end up on a loss? Who knows? Not me at this current moment in time. Let's move on to item number 2. Will this be the item that ends the season? Could actually be a sign because I am running out of stock. Our next item on the bench is an Xbox One S that I paid a total of £17.50 for. Supposedly failed loud fan. The ones that I've had previous have just ended up working. So their definition of loud fan, I'm not too sure. Let's plug it in and give it a test. Does it look like it's been opened before? No, it doesn't. Just make sure we can plug it in to the HDMI as well. Does it power on? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's try that again. Oh. I guess maybe where it hasn't been turned on in such a long time. It still has the sticker on. Look at it. Such good condition, this console. It stays on. My mat's moving all over the place. Do we get a display over to the game scene? We do indeed. How does the fan sound? Honestly, fine. Again, maybe the tiniest bit of clicking, like the tiniest. You wouldn't notice it unless you put your ear to the fan, you know. Plugged in the controller as well. I'll also, whilst I'm here, get the Ethernet plugged in just in case it has any updates to do. Will I, by any chance, get a disc in this one? Was that a... No, it's definitely empty, unfortunately. Oh, we've frozen it. There we go. Checking for updates. Start update, 905 meg. Update's finished. I'm now installing FIFA to give it a little bit of a test run to make sure we're all good. Let's go ahead and test the disk drive, make sure that's okay. Oh, I don't think it is okay. Oh, what noise is that? I think we have quite a bad issue with the disk drive. I think maybe that's what, when they were saying loud fan, I think they were talking about the disk drive itself. It's definitely not taking a disk. Okay, we have something actually faulty with it. I'm going to turn it off then and get it down to like a disk drive level and we'll inspect it and see if we can work out exactly what's going on. Luckily, as I always say with the Xbox One S's, I've got so many parts for these. If it is a replacement disk drive needed, I just take the drive from a donor. What do we have? It's a 500 gig hard drive. That's okay. It will still sell, just not as much as what a 1 terabyte would. Let's take out the drive. Initial inspections of the board. I will take the fan off to replace the thermal paste. I mean, it looks pretty clean if you ask me. What's going on with this drive then? Any initial issues off the face of it, like a Chewits sweet wrapper that we found in one recently? That would be funny. Oh, okay. What? What? A credit card? There's no way. Just when you think you've seen everything in profit or loss, you just haven't. Why is there a credit card? Or is that like a Nectar card? I think it's a Nectar card from good old Sainsbury's. I'm going to have to take this out to see what's going on, because I don't think I can get to that. Desolder these little wires quick. I mean, again, it's pretty decent though, because if it is just a case of removing Sainsbury's, then we haven't used anything as a donor, and it's a relatively easy fix. I'm just going to move the board over there, and next we'll take out the actual laser assembly. This is 3 additional screws. Should just be able to lift this out. He says sometimes it can be quite fiddly. There we go. It is a bank account. It's a savings account specifically. Let's put it back together and see if it works. Everything's plugged in, as you can probably see. I've got a top down just here, and I'm going to put the disc in now and see what happens. Okay, takes it. Lovely jubbly. How's it sound? Sounds good. Do we get a disc turn up? Does it read it? It is indeed Mortal Kombat. There we go. Just like that. Stopped working by credit card. So all I need to do now is clean the thermal paste in this, put it back together, and then we got ourselves another profit. If we don't go over that 1,000, it's going to be so close, but I can't wait to find out. I'm a little bit emotional. FIFA's been installed. I've played a game. The Xbox is working absolutely fine. I'm happy to call it there. I've tested everything else. We're all good. Let's head on over now to Sally's spectacular spreadsheet to see if we've crossed the magical number. Right, let's have a butcher, shall we? Look at me getting all fancy with Excel using an equal sign, hey? Equals 140 plus £17.50 for the Xbox One S and the Xbox Series X. Gives us a total of £157.50. Your boy has already sold the Xbox Series X for £220 plus postage on top of that. And I think I'll be able to get a measly £50 for the Xbox One S, even though it's in great condition. So we're going to go for £270 for our sell price today, giving us a total gross profit in today's episode of £88.20. Now, where does this put us? £88.20. By the way, the last 5 episodes has been a total of 358 quid in profit. I'm going to scroll up very dramatically here. Did we hit £1,000? Come on! £940.48p. Meaning that we need to hit 940.48p in the next episode, a total of £59.52. If we hit that as a profit in next episode, we've reached our goal. I'll leave the first episode in this series, which I'd highly recommend watching, up here in the corner of your screen right now. I live stream here on YouTube and also on Twitch, so make sure you go follow me over there. Link for that will be in the description down below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and I shall, as always, see you in the next one. Peace.